Hey there and welcome to another TechHub.training solution video. This one is for the JavaScript challenge entitled Decoding DuPont. In this challenge, you were provided with an index.html file that should allow companies to go in, input simple financial data, and quickly output their return on equity and the three levers of the DuPont formula, which are profit margin, asset turnover, and financial leverage. However, when you get the HTML file, you notice that when you click the button, nothing happens. It doesn't do any calculations. So your job in this challenge was to write some JavaScript that provides the functionality that the button needs to be able to output those numbers for those companies. I recommend for this challenge using Visual Studio Code. This is an IDE developed by Microsoft, and I think it provides one of the best coding environments available today. When you open it, you'll get a page similar to this, where you can either open a folder that contains the files you need to work on, or if you've opened it before, it should be under here, Reasons. We're going to open this folder called TechHub, and you'll see here that we have this bar on the left side that contains all the folders and files in this folder. You were given this HTML page called index.html, and I recommend installing an extension in Visual Studio Code called Live Server. If you go here to extensions, you can search Live Server and download it. It's right here. This again is a Microsoft product, so totally safe to install. Once you download that, you'll see a box here in the lower right called Go Live. And if you click that, this will give you what your HTML code looks like actually rendered in a web browser. So all of this is all this code, but rendered visually. Now, if you notice here, let's say I put in some company data and I want to find my DuPont decomposition. If I click this button, it should give me the return on equity and the three levers, but nothing's happening. Why is that? Now, if you look here at the HTML, there's a script tag. This script tag calls JavaScript, and in any web page, HTML and CSS form the way the page looks, but JavaScript forms the functionality of the page. And if you see this HTML page, it's calling a file called app.js that doesn't exist. So your main job in this challenge is to create that file called app.js and add into it a function that, when tied to this button right here, will output the DuPont decomposition. Let's go ahead and find that button on this HTML page. There's only one button on the page. It's called button, and the ID is button, very creative. But on click, this is an argument here that says we should be able to click this button and call a function written in JavaScript in this app.js file called calculate decomposition, and it will spit out into all these spots right here the numbers we need. So if you're experienced with JavaScript, I would encourage you to try this on your own to begin with. If you have never touched JavaScript in your life, good thing. Artificial intelligence is very good at code writing, especially for simple scripts like this. So I'm going to give an example of, let's say you don't know very much about coding. I'm just going to go ahead and copy all my instructions, and I'm not going to tell AI to do anything else other than those instructions. Good old ChatGPT will spit out a function, gives it the right name based on my instructions, and that should be everything we need to be able to calculate the DuPont decomposition. Let's throw it in here to app.js, save it, come back to the HTML file. It's already live, so that those changes should be rendered. If we come here to the client portal, let's go ahead and try it, just put in some numbers. Well, nothing happens. Let's see what happened. Right click and go inspect. This is how you can debug JavaScript. I'm going to go to the console here, and it gives me an error. It cannot read the properties of null while reading value. Now, what does that mean? That's on line 3. So if we go to line 3, what could be the issue here? It says it can't read null when it's trying to get the value out. Well, that must mean that this element ID, sales revenue, doesn't exist. Now, elements in HTML can each be given an ID. And if you see this one is called sales-revenue, The one that AI gave me was sales revenue and camel case. But my code has sales dash revenue. So I'm just going to go ahead and change all of these to be the format given in the HTML page. All this should be fine because it saves it into these variables. I guess technically these are constants. You could have made them variables if you wrote it on your own. We're going to change this to match the format. I'm going to double check that that's the ID, return dash on dash equity. Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I save this app.js, save index.html, go back to it. Let's close this console window. Let's give us some numbers. Very scientific, right? And calculate decomposition. There you go. It gives the return on equity and the DuPont decomposition to 2 decimal places. So there's a great solution to the video. I think I'm also going to show you here what I did for app.js. This is my solution code. JavaScript written by AI works just fine. But if you notice, there were bonus points given in the challenge for being able to remove any instances of $ or commas. So I wrote this function here. It's saved in the solution in my post. Feel free to copy and paste it. I just wrote a couple different functions to get and post the data. And if I save this, go back here, I'm going to use actually some of the check figures I gave. So there's 13 million, 5 million, 43 million, and 27 million. If you click calculate decomposition, now notice JavaScript is going to automatically read this as text because there are commas and $. But I wrote my code to be able to remove those. I'm going to remove these spaces. Not sure if I wrote it to remove spaces, but if you click calculate decomposition, there you have it. So that was this challenge. I hope this gives you some interest in JavaScript. If you did use AI to write the answer for you, I would recommend going through, making sure you understand some of the syntax of JavaScript. It's a very unique language, pretty finicky. You can't miss semicolons, got to close all your brackets. But it's definitely a useful challenge to teach yourself JavaScript, and I hope it's something you can learn and put to use. So thanks for tuning in.